guys, how are you? Welcome to WikiTree Bingo on a Friday night. And guess who I brought with me? I brought Jamie with me. We're kind of twinning today with the hair, I think, and the glasses. All right. I am so excited, Jamie, that you're here because we have had almost every programmer that works with WikiTree in the apps on Bingo. And now we got what I consider the head cheese. So Jamie is the project leader of WikiTree's app project. And you might say, well, I don't know what apps are. I'm not sure if I use them. I'm not sure why I would use them. But I bet you are using them already. And I bet you we're going to show you some that you would like to use, but you didn't know was available. So Jamie and I kind of talked beforehand. I am going to give a whirlwind tour of just a couple of the tree apps. And then we're going to kind of dive into what the apps project is before we hit bingo for our first game. So let me go ahead and share my screen real quick. And I think everybody can see this kind of tall. So I'm just going to use a notable that I've been working on a week. You probably know, if you've been to bingo, you should know this gentleman here, Type Cop, because we had him on Sports Notables bingo 2 weeks ago. I've also been working on a CC7, and keep that in mind. I've been working on a CC7 because I've been using an app to help me find his CC7. So let me go through a couple things. Every profile, if you click that little middle kind of tab there, it says tree apps. You get a bunch of options. And I'm just going to show you a whirlwind tour of a couple of them. Have you ever really wanted a nice, clean, easy printer view to print? If you're like me, sometimes I like to print out the really difficult brick walls and make notes and do all kinds of things just using my pencil or my pen. Guess what? That is an app that we use. How about the Ancestor Lines Explorer? I know this one because somebody in my project pulled this up and said that they like this view. And what you can do is you can kind of color your brick walls. And you see the red, I've colored my brick walls. So I know exactly where my brick wall is. I can go and explore it. You know, when we get that extra 5 minutes of time that we're not working on other parts of our tree, then I could come and explore it. Or I could just click on one of the options for the names and boom, it brings it right on up. Again, got to this from that tree app tab, and I just happened to pick the Ancestor Lines Explorer. Let me move on to the next one. This is the good one. This is the good stuff. This is the CC7 views. So I'm working on Mr. Cobb's line. I'm trying to bring his CC7 up. I can go digging through all his lines and through his in-laws and through his cousins and through all these different options just by clicking through the profiles. I quickly get lost doing that, I might add. But this tells me where I might have some availability. So right here, my very first purple that I see, this column tells me that this lady has 0 parents. And if I don't believe it, I can click on her and darn if it wasn't right. 0 parents. So that tells me right there, if I go back to my CC7, this is the 2nd degree. So adding her parents would be the 3rd degree. So that gives me an idea that I can work on. Something else kind of really cool here. If you click on one of these that needs additional help, you might think, well, what happens if they died young? We've got an answer for that too. Because as I scroll down, you'll see a couple died young stickers there. So I know, okay, this one doesn't have any parents or children or children or spouses, but they died young and they're not going to. So this tool is really, really awesome. Now, Jamie, I'm going to ask you something real quick, or we might have to come back to it. The number one request that I get is, how do I tell if somebody has worked on my CC7? My number went up, and how do I tell? And I can tell people this is kind of what I do is I come down to this table here and I click the modified and see who's been working on this line lately. And that kind of gives me an idea. But I think
that's probably the easiest way to find out.
Okay.
We track that.
And it's really helpful too, because you're in the CC7. So you're already here in CC7. So this kind of also helps you and tells you, now this is modified. So it doesn't necessarily mean created. I think the created would be is supposed to be the date that it was created, not the person, right?
So it'd be the date the profile was created.
And this is probably, these are some older ones as well that were created
There's a bug currently with the created field, so
we're working on it.
Yeah.
But this is the CC7 views. Love this. This is really awesome. And I only have it up to the 3rd degree. So you can go up a little bit further. Okay. And let me for this. Okay. The family group view. Maybe you like to see things just a little bit different. And I like to bring this view up because Jonathan was with us with the readability views that he was working on. Another programmer that volunteered his time for apps. This is very large. It's larger to see. It's a little bit easier to see and figure out. So I like to bring this one up if you have readability needs or concerns. And it also lists the children all in a row. I like seeing the children kind of listed separately on more of a vertical than a horizontal. Again, these are all just the tree apps. And the fan. Everybody loves the fan. Mr. Greg Clark. And don't forget, Greg will be on the Saturday roundup tomorrow morning live with Mags and Betsy. The fan. I mean, the fan, he's done tremendous work with this fan as well. And I love it. If you have a lot of pictures in your ancestors profiles in WikiTree, it really looks cool when you bring it up. It really looks cool. And this is really interesting too, because it's white space because we don't know who it is. So, and I agree, Stephen, this is a very big thing. Other apps. The one that is you can actually have automatically in the WikiTree browser, which we didn't have before, is the BioCheck. And I love the BioCheck because it tells me if I've got any suggestions or if I need to fix or change anything. So for Ty Cobbs, you can see he's missing one of the profiles that connect into him is missing the reference tag. So I could just click on the profile, go fix it, and be done. This is done by Kay. Kay just creates this. So it's a quick check to make sure that we have everything neat and tidy. This is the best way to explain it. And the surname generator. We talked about this before. Everybody loves a surname generator. Create the names, change the colors, copy it onto your clipboard, and then put it on your profile. We see it on a lot of profiles as well. And the brick wall. Who doesn't love a brick wall, right? So if you're trying to crash down a couple brick walls on, and this is again Ty Cobbs, I can see that there are quite a few that we need to work on. But the thing that I like about it is when you see the birthplace and you see like the colony of Virginia, you already know you're going to have to spend some time. This isn't going to be a quick and easy thing, but you can find them instead of clicking through his line by parent, grandparent, great-grandparent, and on and on and on. You can find them. Now, why is all this exciting? Because volunteers did it. Right, Jamie? We have volunteers that came in and joined the project and started creating apps. I guess, did some of them create them based on people saying, hey, I would like this? Or did they like something and want something and said, hey, I'm going to create this?
So I think it's a little bit of both. So when I created my first apps, I wasn't on the team yet. I don't think I was even a leader. And I created missing links basically to help me. There used to be something called connection combat. So I created that to kind of help me win. And then
I love it.
Like I just did it for myself, and then I kind of shared it, and other people liked it and gave suggestions. And I know like Alesh, I think made WikiTree Plus before he was a team member too, just from the data. And I think he just was interested in statistics, and now all the features he's added have been requests from people. I know Ian, most things that he added to his browser extension, WikiTree B, were from requests. Like people would request something in G2G and he'd add it to his browser extension before sometimes I even saw it. I was like, oh, well, now we don't need to add that to the site because it's already browser extension. So it's a little bit of both. Like sometimes people just like have an idea and they have the skills and they just, you know, they go for it. And other times they'll see a request in G2G and go, oh, that's an interesting idea, and do it. Or someone will be like, hey, can someone do this? And someone will just pick it up and try to make it happen.
And I think that it's really interesting for those of you that were here, definitely, I would say before 2019. I think 2000, maybe 2019, we started to see a little bit of sneak peeks of extra little tree apps and extra little things that we could do to manipulate our tree and see it. But if you were here before, and I started in 2016, none of this was here. I had to do things the hard way. You know, you go and you manually search, bring up a browser, manually go to Ancestry or Family Search and go and find something, and then copy it over and hope that you got the citation right. And then I'm really bad with numbers of birthdays. I tend to get them confused. So I copy and paste all my birthdays on and on and on and on. So for those of you that were in the thon this past weekend, and I say, and I always ask, everybody passed their thon exhaustion, because that was a heck of a fun thon. I guarantee you those that placed high, or those that got probably over 500, I'd say, but definitely those over 1,000 did not get there unless they used Sorcer. I'm just going to take a guess there. So that's something else that we didn't have way back when I started, that Sorcer is here. And that's Rob. And Rob came to our bingo a while ago. Some of you, I think B, you can still use B a little bit to copy over information. But Jamie announced too that Ian has a G2G post up that has just a few items left on B. And then B's gone.
Is there a way to share that in the...
There is. You can just drop the comment. You can just drop it in the comments, the link. And the thing is with B, though, when I say it's gone, it's really not. You know why? Because it came into the WikiTree Browser Extension. So what happened is, instead of kind of everybody working separately, everybody started to come in together and say, let's work as a group and team, and let's do something called this WikiTree Browser Extension, which is really great because I didn't have to download a whole bunch of different extensions. I could do the WikiTree Browser Extension and get it kind of all at once. And I already know that Carol, Miss Jamie, has informed me that she will get in touch with you, and we're going to get WikiTree Browser Extension installed on your computer before you go on vacation. By the way, we can do it, don't you think, Jamie? We can.
Yeah.
We can do it. And this is, yeah, and B is definitely, they're phasing out because those features are in what Ian had in the B. He's porting over everything he can over into the WikiTree Browser Extension. There are a few things that if you're not sure, he's probably not sure if you really need them or want them anymore. And that's where he's asking if you need them. So it's really good news that these programmers have come together and come in, and they are working together for us. They're volunteers, just like you're a volunteer adding profiles and sourcing profiles. All these programmers are volunteers as well. So how did this start? How did somebody say, like an Ian or a Rob or a Kay or Steve Harris, how did this start and say, I want to do something? How do I get it into WikiTree?
So how did the apps project start, or just?
Yeah.
So I think the apps project has been around for probably longer than I've been on the site. I think one of the first apps was probably root search, which is the link that you can find on profiles. That,
yeah.
So that was Justin York, and he also did the family search connections app. So I think those were probably the first apps. And then there was a basic API, which would let people write a program and use WikiTree data to make something, but there wasn't really a ton of activity. And then we also had data dumps available where you can get a copy of basically everything on the site. They're huge files. And do stuff with that. But that was mostly used by researchers wanting to, like write papers on, genealogy sort of stuff. And so I think, yeah, so there wasn't a ton of activity. And then Alesh started doing WikiTree B, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And I saw the apps project and I joined, and I made an app. And then Chris eventually was like, hey, do you want to lead the apps project? And I was like, sure.
And probably at that time, I bet you had no idea it would lead to where it is today.
No.
How fantastic it is, and how all these people come together wanting to do it. It's amazing.
Yeah, and then slowly, like, other people started joining and making stuff. I think Greg had made a lot of apps, and then Ian joined, and then he's just very prolific in creating a bunch of different features for people. And so I think, especially with those two, and then other people saw like, oh, like there's actually a lot of cool stuff you can add, and just more and more. And then last year I had the idea for Hacktoberfest, and I think we got a few more people involved, and especially since we started 2 open source projects for people to contribute to, shared projects, because before everyone was kind of working on their own thing. And so there wasn't a ton of collaboration in between the different developers, but now, like, we're all working on the same stuff, and that's really getting to know each other, and it's good. Like, collaboration, like, makes stuff better. It's yeah.
You just said it. You said the magic word. You really did. So when we talk about collaboration, usually in Bingo, we're talking about the other projects working together. Like, the United States project might work with the Canada project because of the migration going back and forth. And then we talk about how the Native American project might work with the United States project because they're there, as well as the Canada project as the first people. So we talk about the collaboration and the shared. But your collaboration is a completely different one that is kind of hidden behind the scenes, that they all came together to collaborate and create these apps that, quite frankly, we can't live without. I think there was a blip about a week before the thon, maybe a week or 2 ago. There's a little blip or something with Sorcer. And I know in my project, we all freaked out. And it wasn't really a blip with Sorcer. It was just kind of like, I think, the WikiTree was resetting or something like that. But we all freaked out. We all thought, how are we going to thon without these tools that you gave us? And like you said, if we had all these extensions and we're going out and we got to keep track of them. And if you're not computer savvy, it's tough. It's really tough to keep up with the updates. And because you guys sat together and came together, then you give us pretty much what is called the WikiTree Browser Extension, as well as the new ad system. That's kind of part of the WikiTree Browser system. And all of Ian's tools, if you use Clipboard or the Notepad, how about AutoBio? If you use that, these are all things that also was coming into the WikiTree Browser Extension. So it's pretty cool what you guys have been able to do in a short amount of time. And if you were a participant of the Hacktoberfest, it was fun. I was on the testing side. That was my forte. I used to test in real life. And that was fun because you got to work with you guys and see that you guys are really actually humans. You're not robots behind the scene plugging away at code, except Ian. Ian might be a robot. Ian will plug away at code day and night, I think. So, but it was cool. Are you going to do another Hacktoberfest?
I hope to. I don't know exactly what we'll be working on yet, but I do want to do another one.
And definitely look out for that, because it's something that was really kind of fun for the WikiTree members to work with the app groups and the developers and kind of get an idea of what they're working on and what their needs are, because they're busy coding as well. And if we can sit here and kind of run through what they're adding and what they're coding and kind of see if it works or not, they appreciate that. They don't take that as an insult or criticizing. They take that as, oh, that was helpful. Let me see if I can fix that.
Yeah, definitely. Like any sort of feedback or bug reports or anything like that on apps is super helpful. Like we won't get mad.
No, not at all.
Like, oh, like I wish it was this. Like it's very helpful to get feedback.
And it's really funny because I often, if I see something that, or I have a question, mostly, not that I see a bug, but mostly I have a question, I will DM Ian on Discord because I know it was a B thing. And I get an instant answer. Sometimes, like Jamie and I were laughing, not only do I get an instant answer, I get an instant fix. He's so quick with everything. Ian takes very big pride in his work, and he wants things to work. If you find a bug, he does not mind. If you sit there and say, hey, this doesn't work. And if it wasn't a bug, he explains it in a way that you can understand as well. So I think it's really great. And I see that that Carol, this is a good question. That I can tell you that most of the developers that I know have just started from the ground up and worked. So there's so many different programming languages as well that you use, and most of you guys know probably at least, well, gosh, now I was going to say 3 or 4. It's probably much higher. It's probably 5 or 6. My dinosaur husband of a developer, I won't tell you the COBOL days all the way back, but so he's got some older skills. But I think it's your curiosity, wouldn't you say? You have the love of it and the curiosity to make it a program and make it work.
And I think quite a few of the people in the apps projects are retired developers, and so maybe they hadn't worked in. Most of our shared apps are in JavaScript, so maybe they hadn't done that before, but they they want to do something now that they're retired, so they're learning how to do this. But yeah, like especially during Hacktoberfest, because we all had to come up with an app that we could all work on together. So like a lot of us were learning new frameworks or new libraries, or some people had never worked in JavaScript before or had never worked on a browser extension, and so yeah, a lot of it is just you're interested and you like to learn stuff. So
and it's kind of in your wheelhouse already, so you kind of pick it up. And this is a good time for Chris to ask this question: what language do you all use? But I think we should also mention too that there is a WikiTree code that we will never see, that's protected, and then there's the app code. So could you explain kind of the difference, and then also what language do you use for the apps?
So yeah, there's the main WikiTree site, which is mostly in PHP. I think some of the connection I don't know what Alesh wrote the connection finder in, but I don't think it's PHP. So yeah, so that's all closed to the public. And then for our shared apps, which is the Tree apps and the WikiTree Browser Extension, those are in JavaScript. And then there's other apps that people have done, and those can be. We have a server that it's called the app server that people can get a little space on to host their own standalone app, and those can be written in PHP, Perl, Python, or front-end JavaScript. So, or if you have your own web server that you want to host something on, you can write it in whatever you want. So, yeah, our shared stuff is mostly JavaScript.
And those are the more common languages that you're going to use for web browser use, correct?
Can you repeat that? Sorry, I was reading a comment.
Those are kind of the most common languages that you use for web browser use, I guess. But I have to pause and hesitate, though, because a couple years ago, my son learned Python, and he was so excited because he'd get in the car and he'd say, well, the computer in your car, well, that was Python, and this. So I got to hesitate. It's not, when I say that it's used, some of these languages are used most commonly for web browsers type of programs. They're also widely used around the world for all different types of.
Yeah, like JavaScript used to mostly just be like front end web stuff, but you could do back end stuff with it. Python, I think, can also do some front end stuff. Maybe, I don't know. I don't do Python very often.
And I also, I just gotta laugh because this is where we have fun with bingo. So, and everybody, we're going to start the bingo game in just a moment, but this is where we got to laugh because we have all kinds of people and their skills in the chat. We have some that just know how to open up the computer and hit the on button and use a mouse, and that's fine. And then we have some that are in the chat that have been working for 20, 30 years as a programmer, and that's cool because you guys can share and collaborate. And we had Chris ask what type of language do we use, and I just gotta love Carol for her humor because she puts up English because that's what kind of keeps those that have a lot of experience and those that don't. This is what keeps bingo fun for us as well. So I love that. Thanks, Carol, for bringing.
There were a couple of comments. Mike said, "What about Ruby?" I don't know if anyone's written anything in Ruby, and I don't think our app server handles it.
Okay. And that's a new one by me. I don't even know. No Ruby.
And then someone mentioned HTML and CSS. Yes, we use those for the WikiTree Browser Extension and also the dynamic tree.
And then
tree apps.
Python. Here's another question about Python. Has several front-end frameworks, so that's good. And let's see. Okay, I think we're set. So do you guys want to start the bingo game then? Let's go ahead and start the game. Then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about a couple things. I've had a lot of people, this is the first, Jimmy, a lot of people send me questions as well about the apps. Some are feature requests, some are just general questions, and we're going to dig into those and also talk about, if you are a developer, how you can get involved if you have a need for an app. Okay, here's the bingo card one more time, and I just want to mention, let me bring it up real quick, that to win bingo, you can do diagonally, horizontally, vertically. There is a free spot in the middle. I think it's the WikiTree Apps kind of block logo. So go ahead and click on that now. That's a free spot. If you're new to bingo, if you click on a space that you did not mean to click, just click it again and it'll deselect it. But the first person who gets a bingo is the person who gets that vertical, diagonal, or horizontal and also yells it in the chat and says bingo. And that's really important because sometimes we get talking about the words, and when you yell it, I can definitely see it. And I said this at the earlier bingo today because we had Eowyn with us. If you are joining the WikiTree Games next month, those of you bingo already have a head start on what to do when they have some games that they're going to do during the WikiTree Games Hangouts. They want everybody to just kind of yell. Four corners is a no. So vertical, diagonal, or horizontal. Okay. I love this. They're dating themselves by which program they first learned. So I love this. Okay. Jamie, oh no, now we're talking dial-up modem. We're going to talk about Commodore 64s really quick here. I can tell. The little cassette drives and things like that. Okay. Jamie gave us these words, and luckily they're not in Polish like they were earlier today. So, okay, let's go ahead and start. And guys, we'll go through this pretty quick. So, Chrome, that's a browser.
Yep.
Oh no, we're talking DOS now, Jamie. We're going way back. They're having fun with this one there. Browser extension. So how do I explain, for example, to Carol, what what exactly is a browser extension? Because I think we use the words app, but it's really extension.
Yeah, so browser, so first of all, a browser is what you use to access the internet. So common ones are Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer was an older one, which some people still use. Edge, Safari. So those are the main ones that are. And so an extension is basically a program you install in your browser that adds extra features to the page. Usually what it does is it inserts some code into the web page you're viewing to just add extra stuff. So
And it's kind of like, I like to say, it's like this little package gift. You know, if you take the WB extension, the WikiTree Browser Extension, think of a nice, cute little package with a beautiful bow. And as soon as you download this browser extension, and it's just a click. It's not heavy duty. It's really kind of just a click. Then it's there, and it's packed full of goodness. You open it up, and all kinds of goodness comes out. The clipboard, the auto bio comes out, some of the tree apps. I mean, it's just really, really a great little package. Is the way I explained the.
And the great thing about the extension too, the WikiTree Browser Extension, is anything can be turned on or off. So if you don't like something, you can turn it off.
Okay, so I will tell you that would be one of the other questions is, who decided on pink for a link in the new browser extension?
That was probably either Ian or Jonathan.
Because we did get a computer. That's kind of what we're playing around with. So that's kind of the big boxy thing that your keyboard and your monitor kind of attached to.
I was running out of words.
Yeah. Code repository. Okay, what is this? This sounds medical, Carol. This definitely sounds medical.
So code repository, we because we're working on shared code, we need some place to store it where everyone that wants to work on it can get the latest version to their computer. So we use this a code repository called GitHub. So like that's where our shared code lives. And like if I wanted to make a change, I'd download that code to my computer, make changes, and then upload that code back to the repository so everyone else will have the changes.
And then the code, you know, you're not messing with the live code as we're here sitting around doing things on WikiTree right now. And then go, oops, I did a typo, you know, so that kind of is why it helps to download and then upload it back up again. And Git. So that's going to be your GitHub.
So Git is our version control that we're using. So you know, on WikiTree, if you make a change to a profile, my plant just fell over.
I was going to say kitty or puppy.
So on WikiTree, if you make a change to a profile, it has a little line that says, you know, like somebody changed the biography, and you can click and see what happened. So Git basically does the same thing, but for code. So if you make a change, like people can see, you know, what's happening, and you can revert the changes if someone did something that totally messed everything up.
And I should point out too that if somebody yells bingo, do not close down your card until we confirm bingo, because if somebody has won in the past 6 months, they cannot win again until 6 months has gone by. Sometimes people have won bingo, but they like hanging out, they like learning, and they like playing the bingo game as well. And they'll say bingo, but keep playing. So don't ever close down your bingo card. Discord. Now, Discord can become a little bit of an addiction for some. I get that. You know, I'm not raising my hand or anything, but I think Discord is one of the best things that WikiTree has done that's not on WikiTree, if that makes sense.
It was my idea.
There we go. And
it took a long time to get it going. Like, I think it was up for maybe 1.5 years or 2 years before it really took off. Just because I think Chris was kind of a bit nervous about taking more of the conversation off of of G2G. But I really like Discord. I like chatting real time with people. And that's where a lot of the apps members, where we talk about stuff, is Discord. We have 4 channels, I think, in there. So
I can tell you, it's just really, really cool because it allows you to create a community based on your project. G2G is more, to me, a community wide. And then Discord lets you kind of narrow it down a little bit. And in our particular project, we even have where we'll mention books that are reference books, research books, and even gotten down to novels and fiction, because it all plays into the culture of our project, and we share the information. Also, one of the books that we recently shared, the author just became a Nobel Prize winner, and was so she connects into our project. A lot of times, if you put that on Discord, you might not see it. Sometimes Discord, if it's a chatty day too, it'll just keep going. I mean, excuse me, G2G, Discord too, but G2G, it just keeps going, and sometimes you miss what is being posted. But Discord, you have a chance to catch up, or somebody will catch you up if you've got a real chatty one. But I just think that Discord is so wonderful at community, narrowing down your community. And there's a couple other things too. Like, I think if you do, and I hate to use Germany a lot as kind of example, but it's because I used it. If you do like the @ Germany in WikiTree's Discord, somebody in the Germany project will see it and come to your rescue and say, do you need research help? And I think all projects are kind of like that. So it's really, really cool. And I agree with Stephen, you can thread things. So we have research, some brick walls that we thread, and people will come in and out of our Discord, our members, to kind of look at it. It's just fabulous. It's fabulous. So, okay, let's keep going. So data, I guess we need the data, and we're providing the data as well, right? If we do a profile.
Yeah, that's where the data comes from, is from people adding profiles to WikiTree.
And here's a good question too. Is there a Discord channel in Discord that might help new members? Is that the general Discord in WikiTree?
I think the general would probably be the best place to ask, because that's where the most people are.
And a lot of people do jump in.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a specific one for new members.
And documentation. Do we document all our code?
So we have documentation for the API, which is what people use to get data from WikiTree, which is open source too, so people can add to that. And then we, if anyone likes writing documentation, we could always use help. We recently had a member join the apps project just basically to do documentation and testing.
That's fabulous.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've seen the WikiTree browser extension, like Space Page. Really added. His name is Murray. He added a bunch of great stuff to that just to make it easier, because I think a lot of programmers don't really like to.
They don't
spend time on documentation. We like to code more than.
Coding is more creative.
It's
more of a mystery and a puzzle as well. So yeah, I agree.
So yeah, if anyone wants to help with documentation,
especially if you like to write biographies, if you're really good at writing and you like doing like the notable biographies that take a lot of time and a lot of detail, this would be the same to help with the documentation. If you're like, well, I don't know how to code, you could do the documentation. So that's a good way to kind of get your foot into what apps project is all about. And the app is kind of what we're talking about. I think sometimes we use this word and the extension word, the same. They are different, but we kind of just say
app is just any sort of application that someone makes. Because I think browser extension, it could be a standalone app. It could be,
And it's a good point. Like Sorcer is a standalone. Greg's fan chart is within WikiTree. So bug. And we're going to ask you about this too after we get our bingo winner. But code gets bugs. It just happens.
Yep.
It
There's always bugs.
It just happens. So we're going to ask Jamie and talk a little bit more about if we see a bug or if we think we have a bug, what do we do? And it's not called Exterminator, so you're safe with that too. Okay. Oh, Patty. Wait. Okay. Yep. So GSL won. So Patty won. Congratulations, Patty. I might tell you guys too that if you were in the thon, Patty was in the top 2 with the thon. And Patty loves B. I know she loves B, and I know she loves Sorcer. So if you wonder how Patty got all those numbers up there in the thon, it was because of a WikiTree app. So congratulations, Patty. I wonder what you're going to get, Patty. I'm really curious. So you do have a couple choices. What you're going to do is you're going to email Eowyn. She's going to let you know the link of what you can buy. It's up to $30, a WikiTree branded store. And literally just entered into the store are the 15th anniversary items that came in, the shirts and the hats and the things like that. So Patty, congratulations. That's pretty cool. Well, let's talk a little bit real quick. We did talk about, so here's B, and B is going away. So if you're using B, and don't be sad because almost all of B is in WikiTree Browser Extension.
Yeah, and Ian is basically in charge of the WikiTree Browser Extension. So,
and I'm going to put here, I'll put it up one more time. Definitely, you guys check this out. This is Ian's latest BG2G, and he's asking you, hey, do you still want these? Because if you don't want them, I'm not going to include them. If you want them, then I'll include them. So definitely check that out as you go through your G2G after bingo. Sorcer. Now, WikiTree decided to keep Sorcer separate. And why is that?
So Rob had already done a ton of work with tests and stuff, and so it would have been pretty difficult to combine it with what we were going to do with our shared browser extension. And plus, it mostly deals with external sites, while the WikiTree browser extension is mostly just editing WikiTree itself. And WikiTree Sorcer is also open source, so you can, if you have programming skills, you can add features to it.
And, you know, Rob is asking, especially if you have a foreign language or if you search foreign document search, you know, a lot of us use Ancestry, a lot of us use Family Search, but they're depending on which country, they have different places that they keep their documents in their historical documents. So if you do have a foreign language, Rob is saying, help me out, you know, because I don't believe Rob knows every language in the world. He's pretty good at what he's doing, though. So I'm pretty impressed what he's adding. But if you do have something, that feel free to get in touch with Rob and let him know. Oh, no, is that the wrong link for the bingo card? Let me bring it up. And let's try this one. I love you guys. You guys always keep me on my toes. I love this. Okay, in the fan chart. So this one's mine. I showed you a little bit of Ty Cobb's, and I wanted to show you this because this is showing all the pictures. It's showing the married. You can change the colors. You can change the options. You can say show pictures, don't show pictures. You can do so many things with this. And I know for a fact that this was built, and then a tremendous more amount of time was spent on it recently by Mr. Greg Clark, because I was testing it out with him a little bit and looking at it to see if I like the pictures. Do I like where the married date is? Do I like the information that it displays? How about the colors? Do you like the colors? So you can go primary colors, customize your colors. This is pastel colors. And good. Okay, I think we got the right bingo card now. How do you get the colors? There is, let me see if I can, I've got my screen enlarged, so it's kind of hard to see, but there's a little wheel here and it has tons of options. I was so surprised that Greg added in all these options because quite frankly, I think he could have just gave us a fan and we would have all been thrilled with it. But no, Greg said, I'm going to give you guys a lot more to go with it. So I thought it was really cool. And it's really interesting to see this. Again, this is a volunteer that's working with the WikiTree apps. And Greg will be with us, I think, in 2 weeks. He's got a new app I think he's working on that he's going to show us. So another app that I wanted to show you guys that you might not know of this is Steve Sarah's cemetery map. And you might think, okay, so there's some cemeteries around. But let's say that you're kind of, weird and wacky like me, and you're going to go look for an ancestor's tombstone in a particular area. So if I click on this and I type in the name of where I'm looking at, it'll show me exactly where it is. So number one, it's not GPS, but it's pretty close to telling me how to get there. And I can also go out and change the options so I can see other cemeteries that are nearby. So if I have a grandparent buried here, but maybe I have a great grandparent buried here, it kind of shows me the map. And to me, I see WikiTree becoming more and more cemetery focused, and I love it. I love seeing a little bit more focus on it because WikiTree can give you the full profiles and bio that the other place cannot. And a lot of us know Steve as the guy who sets up and works with the projects, but he's also does some programming work as well. BioCheck. I love Kay. And I love to say, Kay, your app is a love-hate. So we talked about this earlier with Ty Cops, but I thought I'd show you something that is mine. I got a lot of work. So you can see, I've only have taken 2 generations. So I've got a little bit of cleanup work. This, though, is in BioCheck is in WikiTree Browser. So I don't need this separate app. I can turn it on in WikiTree Browser, right? And then when you get ready to save the profile, you get that big orange block that tells you profile was sourced. That's the good thing. Or you're missing something.
Yeah, I think there might be some features in the standalone version that aren't in the browser.
I think you're right. A little bit more detail, I think, as well. Like this tells me the line count, the reference, the count, and I don't think it does in WikiTree Browser. I'm not sure if it does or not. But again, and I want you guys to know, Kay has had this around. And I was thrilled to see it integrated into the WBE. I thought that was great to see it, and I see that she's also done a lot more work with it. I just think this is one of the best silent apps that have been around on WikiTree for a while that you might not have known. And Stephen, for the GPS, definitely talk to Stephen Harris about that as well, because he works on it all the time. Okay, so let's say that I am a developer and I want to get involved. What's my first step?
It would probably be to go to the project page.
And then there's a little link for developers, I know, as well.
Yeah. So that's a newer page, but
and you do need to know some basic programming language. This isn't for somebody who has never heard of certain words like we had in bingo. This you don't want to dive in and drown.
I mean, if you know a little bit of programming, like even if you're not great, you can still join and we can help you out. Because I mean, the best way to learn how to program is to just program.
Yeah.
So even if you're not super experienced, that's fine. Like, we can help you learn and
It also, I think one of the easiest ways to do it, if you do have the inclination to kind of learn and you want to help the project, go in on the documentation side. You'll pick up kind of the code and the idea of what they're doing really, really quickly. I used to create training manuals, and you pick up on all kinds of interesting things that the programmers are working on. I don't want to go into too much detail with what this is, but could you explain for those that out there, this is open source, and you do provide the large file, the database dump, that they can practice their code and write their code against, right?
So the database dump is more for if you need to process a ton of data. So it's good for things like WikiTree Plus, like what Alesh is doing, where he needs to get a bunch of statistics and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
because the files are so huge, it may not be good for beginners. So most people just use the API, which
that makes
stands
sense
for Application Programming Interface. So basically, you ask WikiTree, like, give me the data for this person, and it will send you back some data, and then you can take that data and then use it in a program however you want.
And if I get the database dump, it's all or nothing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I can't say I just want Canada or I just want United.
No.
It's all or nothing.
You get, well, there's 5 different files, I think. So it's sort of split. So I think you get all the person profiles that are public. So we don't give private profiles.
Okay.
And you get marriage data in a separate thing. I think you get thumbnails of photos in another one. So it's sort of separate, but yeah, you can't just be like, I just want everyone from Canada or with a Canada birthplace. You would have to separate that data out yourself.
Okay. So it is going to be a large file then going. I'm going to drop again. Ignore that drop for that bingo card. That's the wrong one. So ignore that. Let me give you this real quick. And as we come back over. Now, let's go ahead and do some questions that we have. Okay. So, and if you guys have any questions as we talk about this, feel free. Let us know. So, Jamie, what is the best way for people to make suggestions? And then what is the best way to report bugs?
So it depends on what you're having an issue with. So if it's for the WikiTree Browser Extension, probably just contact Ian.
Okay.
Either through Discord or send him a private message. Because he's in charge of that. He's my project coordinator. He finally accepted the role this year. And
I did notice that. I thought that was good. I did notice that.
I asked him quite a while ago. He's like, no, I don't. He's like, I'm just collaborating. I'm like, yeah, but you're doing so much, Ian. so yeah, he's finally project, and he's in charge of the WikiTree Browser Extension.
And then if it's Sorcer, that's Rob.
If it's Sorcer, yeah, contact Rob.
We know that as well. Mark, try that second bingo card that I brought up. That should work. Now, what happens, like, if it's, I guess if it's like Kay's app, do we contact Kay for that?
If you know who programmed it, contact that person directly.
Okay.
If you're not sure, you can post in G2G with the WikiTree Apps tag. So that's WT_apps.
Okay.
So someone will see it if you post there. We also have a Google group, which anyone can join. So if you've had a question, you could post it there and all the developers would see it.
And their Google group is on their page. Now, here's a good question. Do you have a Discord channel for development?
Yes. So we have 4, I think. So we have just the WikiTree Apps channel. We have one for the WikiTree Browser Extension, one for the Tree Apps, and then we have a Hacktoberfest one, which isn't being used much right now, but will be in October.
Coming up. And I kept this picture up because of 2 things. So the scarf with the piano, that's Greg, and I think a lot of us know him as well from the Saturday Roundup. Alesh is standing up, but the person that nobody knows. The secret mystery person on the left. Can you tell us who he is?
So Brian is the team member, and he's kind of like my co-manager for the project. So Brian has basically programmed 99% of the WikiTree site. Like, he's been here since the beginning of the site.
He's like the man behind the curtain.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. He's not much into being public facing, but yeah. So he does most of the programming for WikiTree, the core WikiTree site, and he created the API. He yeah, he does
kind of the framework of what you see.
Yeah.
That's him.
So he does comment in our Google group if you ever need to ask him a question about the API or the data dumps or something like that. He will comment there.
Okay, so
he doesn't really frequent like G2G or Discord.
So for developers, that's going to probably be your best deals to go to their Google group. Okay, so we talked about how people can contribute if they have coding skills. Definitely go to the project page, and there's a lot of information, a lot of links. There's a developer link. There's a link to show you.
Yeah,
and there's links to GitHubs as well. There's a bunch of links.
Yeah, you could always just email me, jamie@wikitree.com.
And it definitely, if you see something as well, then go ahead and you're not sure who developed it or who you should contact. Jamie's your point person.
Yep.
Jamie's perfect. What platforms? I think that's a little bit of typo. What platforms do you develop on or for? Not sure.
So for the browser extensions, we have a version for Chromium-based browsers. So that would be Chrome, Edge, things like Brave. There's probably some other ones.
Yeah.
A lot of browsers use the Chromium base as their thing. So the Chrome version would work for those. We also have a version for Firefox.
Mm-hmm.
And then Safari.
I was going to say,
but yeah, I know
a lot
of people want the Safari version, and it's waiting on me. I'm sorry. It's been tested though. There's a weird like behind the scenes stuff because Apple's a little bit of a stickler. Like you have to pay money and give them information. They actually had to like have a phone call with Chris to make sure we weren't some scammers.
Imagine that, a whole bunch of WikiTreeers coming at you at once. So
yeah, I'm hoping to have it released officially by the end of the month.
And that'll work on or
iOS.
iOS. Can I use it? I know Rob has an app for Sorcer on iPhone. Will WikiTree have the WBE as a app?
Yes.
And I assume there will be a small charge only because Apple charges. We're not buying poles and mansion off of this. This is just passing any.
No, so the WikiTree browser extension shouldn't charge.
That's even better. That's great.
Yeah, I think like WikiTree's covered the cost of the account. So
and since we're talking Vivaldi, I know Kiwi.
I think that's Chromium based.
I think it is. I thought it was. And platform hardware, standalone server, cloud. Y'all are hitting me with questions that I generally don't see on Genealogy Bingos.
So WikiTree, the app server is on Amazon Web Services. So that's cloud. Alesh has his own server for WikiTree Plus. I think it's like actually in his house, maybe.
And also, I know not this thon, but the thon beforehand, he just got it because he was doing a hangout with us and he was so excited to set it up. And he said it's quicker, faster, and great. And I want to say that helps handle the WikiTree Plus and the CC7. I think.
So his server, I know it's for his actual business. WikiTree isn't his, it's like a side gig. And I think the connection finder, actually, I think the connection finder runs on our service.
That's great. And then keep in mind too, that we did confirm that your connection or your CC7 updates twice an hour. Top and bottom of the hour. We found that during the thon. Okay, we're running a little bit behind, so we still got one more bingo game. So get your bingo card up. What features are in the pipeline? Can you tell us any insider information?
I don't know. I don't know what we're working on. I know we're working on adding a couple things to the API. So I know Ian needs a couple of things to get some features he wants working. So
and then this brings us So for you personally, what is, I'll say is, not are, what is the best feature so far to date for you personally?
Well, the one I use the most is the distance of relationship feature in the browser extension, because I just find it super helpful. My watch list is huge because I used to do a ton of connecting work, and I wouldn't orphan the profiles after I added them. So I've been trying to, so now like I can look up there and be like, oh, like this person's 23 degrees from me. I probably don't need them on my watch list.
And you know, I will also say that little circle that you guys see, click on it every once in a while if you add people. It's a little quicker tip. I love that. I love seeing a profile and seeing how close I am to them. It's become a little bit addictive, as well as the CC7 number going up. We already talked about there will be something like a Hacktober. And the favorite feature in the apps, I think we kind of talked about that as well, with the connection to you. But I also love the clipboard. I am totally addicted to the clipboard as well. So I was really thrilled with that. And we talked about Safari support. So what is the most requested enhancement from non-developer members, and exclude out Safari, Apple?
I mean, Safari definitely is the biggest.
Yeah, that's why I know you're inundated with that.
I'm not sure, because usually people suggest stuff, and if it's for the WikiTree Browser Extension, Ian gets it done like sometimes before I even see the suggestion. So
Ian's the man. Now, I did have one feature request, and if you guys have feature requests, definitely reach out to Jamie and let her know. I had one feature request. There's something kind of interesting going on, and we'll talk about it more afterwards. But if you went into your search for categories and you typed in the word mariner, some people had a different list. That was kind of interesting, but they were wondering if you could use like a Library of Congress or a card catalog at a library style to list out, for example, the occupations that were there. So if you had mariner, then, you know, at the head, then you could have ferryman or tugboat or fisherman or something like that all the way through. So that thesaurus. I've also been asked to ask you about spell check for biography.
So I think people's browsers should have
pick up on that
spell check feature. I think there might be issues if you use the advanced
portion of it
thing. Yeah, it may not work. That I'll have to look into that.
But if you have any type of feature requests, now's the time. Really, now's the time, because if Jamie's collecting some of these items, and I'm pretty sure Ian's probably going to be watching this as well. Maybe not live, but maybe watch it back. Any feature requests, they love them, and they love to hear them, and they love to see what you guys are looking for. And as Jamie collects these, this might become a Hacktober Fest type of environment too. So that's really cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk bingo. Again, for bingo, vertical, diagonal, horizontal, go ahead and click the crazy computer graphic in the middle. That's your free space. So we give you one free. If you won in the past 6 months, you cannot win again until 6 months has gone by. Okay, so let's go ahead and open source. Can you kind of explain to those that aren't in the programming world what open source really is?
So it's basically that anyone can see the code and anyone can modify it. So it's kind of like an open profile on WikiTree where, you know, it's open. You can go in and change it.
That's a great way. That's a really great way of explaining. In WikiTree Sorcer, we did talk about this. This is Rob Havey's baby that he created. And if you missed the bingo with Rob, it was about a month ago. Really enlightening, because the part of the reason I love doing this bingo is to give live demos and to have the projects come in and explain their projects or explain their research. But with all of your particular IT people that came on, I like showing that they're actually human. They're not a robot behind the scene. And it was great to meet Rob, learn who Rob is, as well as his love of creating IT apps. It was really cool to meet him.
Everyone in the project is super nice. Like
He really, and at the very end, we got to meet his cat. So who knew Rob was a cat person? So love that. Okay, Prettier.
So Prettier is something we use to make sure our code is all consistently formatted. Because so imagine if two people were working on a WikiTree profile, and when you say, or like maybe you put extra lines or something, and then it would notify the other person, like, oh, there was a change, but they would look and it was just extra lines. So that was what was happening when we were saving our code. It was like all the files were changing because there were extra spaces somewhere or something. So Prettier has solved that problem for us, where all our code is formatted the same when we save. So we're not getting notified that 300 files have changed when, there's been a line of code added.
Probably easier to debug as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So JSON is how it's basically the way data comes from the API. So if you're writing a program, you ask the WikiTree API, like, give me data on this person. It will give you back like a blob of data, and the format that data is in is JSON. So you have to take that and then put it into something usable.
And stable. This is a good word.
So stable, for the WikiTree Browser Extension, we have 2 different versions for each browser type that we have. So we have a preview version, which has some experimental features, which we want people to test out. And then we have the more stable version, which is supposed to have been tested more. Sometimes there's always bugs that people find. But yeah, so if you don't like running into bugs, you're probably better using the stable version. If you want the latest features, you probably want to download the preview version.
On the preview. I use the preview and I like it because it does help me see where you guys are going. And I'm like a kid at Christmas. I want to open up the present and see it beforehand. But I do also want to give a shout out to you guys too. That this lawn was busy. This was the most people signed up. I mean, we were busy, and the apps hung in there with us. The back behind the scenes, everything with WikiTree hung in there with us. And can you imagine how many people at any given 5 minutes during the thon was using WikiTree browser, using the clipboard or the auto bio, using Rob's Sorcer? It would be an insane amount, and they all were stable. They all stuck with us.
So NPM is kind of a very technical term. So it stands for Node Package Manager. For the browser extension, we use that to automatically create or to basically make our code more modular, and it automatically like creates different zip files for the different browser versions, and it's a nice thing to have.
Sounds like it's kind of makes you more efficient too.
Yeah.
Does a lot of the work. Because you have to program for a lot of browsers, and now adding the Safari, and that's a lot. Okay,
so
pull request.
That has to do with Git and GitHub. So you download code from GitHub, you make your changes, and then you put it back on the server. But before it gets accepted into the code base, you have to make a pull request. So someone has to check it to make sure that, like someone isn't adding a virus into it. I mean, not that, because it is open to anyone. Anyone could request to make a change. There are a few of us that don't have to request, like Ian, Jonathan, me, Steven. Like, there's a few of us that, like, I trust not to put viruses in.
Yeah.
But yeah. So if you're not one of those people, you have to like say, like, this is the code I changed, and then someone will check your pull request and make sure it's good, and then it will get added to the code base.
And that's important that everybody also heard that too. So there are safety factors kind of built in here, and that's kind of where Jamie's going with this. So we're not going to introduce a lot of wild and crazy bugs or viruses and things. So then next thing you do is you open up, Elvis's profile, and it comes up with a ton of bugs, and you can't get rid of his music for 24 hours straight or something like that. So there are things in here, safety, that are built in. Tree Apps, we kind of talked about that. That was that tab on every profile. There is that link for Tree Apps. I highly encourage everybody who has not used that, because it's kind of hidden. People kind of blow past it. Use your own profile. Go have fun with them. There's so many Tree Apps, and that you have to have a link that says other apps in that section. So have fun with it. Enjoy the Tree Apps and explore. I actually really love the printer. I use that more than I probably should.
The other apps on that tab are just, those are apps that have not been added to the Tree Apps code on GitHub yet. So they're standalone apps.
And they could be coming. They could be headed that way.
Yep.
In source code. Well, this is the language. This is what builds everything, right?
Yeah. So it's basically what we're kind of talking about, the code that's stored on GitHub that we all are working on.
And again, if you're a programmer, we know that you know these words. And so if you're a programmer and you see this and you have an idea, contact Jamie, reach out, join the project.
Actually, like, a lot of people had never used GitHub or done collaborative programming before the Hacktoberfest. So, like, even if you don't know, we'll teach you.
And I gotta tell you that there are a lot of young members as well. When I say young, I mean like really young adults as well on WikiTree, and I'd love to see them that are going through school now and learning how to become a programmer or learning something in the IT. I'd love to see them become part of the project too, because I think that the mentorship from the Ians and the Robs and the Jonathans and Jamies would be really, really great. I don't think so, Carol. I think you're still good. Testing, I from my own experience, if you're going to put something out there, you like to kind of have others test it to kind of make sure it works. Pretty simple, pretty easy to do. And trust me, I can tell you that for example, Ian and Rob, I know they test before they put everything out. But as Jamie has mentioned, sometimes little quirks and bugs happen along the way. And if you find something, then they don't mind. They don't mind being told that there's a Kirby. Bingo. This is great. So we've got our second bingo. Kirby, let me go ahead and tell you what you need to do. So you're going to email Eowyn and let her know that you won the bingo during the apps project, and she will get you the link to the store. I think I do have the store link too. So for those of you that are curious for the winners, what they're picking or what they can choose from, it's up to $30 value. Is a WikiTree branded store. Feel free, if there's something you want to buy, go ahead and buy as well. But Kirby, you are the winner. So congratulations. And I will tell you, without a doubt, the bingo mug is the #1 item in the store. But I think it's going to quickly dissipate because Eowyn just introduced into the store the collector edition 15th anniversary shirts and mugs and things like that for WikiTree. So pretty cool. So guys, if you have any questions for Jamie, please reach out to her. She's the project leader of the apps project. You can find her on that page as well. You're in G2G a lot too. You're also in G2G answering our questions.
Yeah, and I'm technically the community technology assistant for WikiTree.
Yeah, so I mean, I see you everywhere.
Any questions, ask me.
And
any bug reports, anything.
And I definitely will be letting Carol. I'll give Carol your information and get in touch with you, because Carol, I promise you, Jamie can get you all set up with WikiTree Browser. I kind of hate to hear when somebody says they can't figure it out, because it's so good. You need it. You need these tools to work with. And Carol does a lot with one name studies as well. So I can see AutoBio working really well for her as she goes through with it. So guys, I want to thank you guys for joining us live. If you're watching this after the fact, thank you for joining us. I hope that we've encouraged you to not only explore some of these apps on your own, try them out, test them out, but also if you're a programmer or developer, get in touch with Jamie. And I encourage you to join the project. And I think there's probably always going to be feature requests.
Yeah.
I don't think those go away. And if you have a lot of features, maybe if we get a bunch of them, Jamie could have a really super cool Hacktoberfest this year just on features based on what your suggestions are. So thank you guys so much for joining. And thank you, Kirby and Patty, for winning the mugs. Congratulations. And Jamie, thank you for leading such a cool group. It is such a cool group. You guys are really rocked. I reached out to you and your programmers, and you all instantly said yes. And thank you for bringing these tools to us to make our WikiTree life fun.
Yeah.
And everybody, have a good weekend.
Bye.